Well, the U.S. Special Envoy Amos Hochstein has been holding talks in Israel after negotiating details of a draft ceasefire proposal in Lebanon. But some residents of Beirut are not sure all the negotiations will lead to results on the ground.
In my opinion, the Americans are serious about the negotiations to stop the conflict, especially if you look at the fact that the airport has not been struck, nor the infrastructure. They made the conditions, not us. That's my opinion. And then I think, yes, we'll have peace because no war doesn't end eventually. But I think they'll sell it to Donald Trump, not to Joe Biden. So we'll have to wait. But we wish that it would stop quickly.
About the negotiations, the Israelis are playing with us. The Israelis used to do this at the beginning in Gaza. Every day they come and say they want negotiations, then they go to Netanyahu, then they come back and reject the negotiations that we've been working on.
Okay, let's speak to Filippo Dionigis, who's a senior lecturer of international relations at the University of Bristol. He's joining us from there. We thank you for your time on Al Jazeera. If you look at what's happening on the ground for a moment in Lebanon, I mean, this morning we saw Israel bomb the southern suburb of Beirut, its surroundings, as well as in Tyre in the south of the country. Is the belief that these military strikes will pressure either Hezbollah or the parliament speaker, Nabih Berri, who's the main interlocutor in the talks taking place or have taken place with the U.S. envoy, Amos Hochstein?
I think these are a continuation of operations that we saw already taking place in the past months of Israel attacking targets in Lebanon that have to do with Hezbollah's military capacity, but not only that terrorize the civilian population, so trying to create a wedge between the public opinion in Lebanon and the role of Hezbollah in this war in that sense. The ceasefire negotiations are part of this. Israel has been negotiating also with the use of force in that sense, and Hezbollah has responded also to those attacks in that sense too. But again, it's still too early to see exactly how these attacks will play into the ceasefire negotiations themselves.
Look, Amos Hochstein said in Beirut at a news conference earlier this week that there had been, quote, additional progress in his discussions with Lebanese officials and that he would go to Israel to try to bring this to a close if we can. That's according to him. What do you understand the status of the negotiations to be right now? And is it based on Resolution 1701, or is Resolution 1701 the starting point and there are amendments, as we saw happen back in October?
I think this is the question that everyone is asking. The negotiations are obviously taking place in a reserved and secret manner so that they're not spoiled by parties, and therefore it's difficult to understand exactly what is happening. But the Lebanese side is asking for a type of ceasefire that anyway follows the sort of structure that has been put in place by UN Security Council Resolution 1701, as you just mentioned, which it basically means that Lebanon would preserve a degree of sovereignty over the implementation of the ceasefire, and that would be potentially a monitoring mechanism implemented primarily by the Lebanese armed forces, by the UNIFIL peacekeeping forces, and possibly by states involved in the monitoring process, such as the United States, possibly, and France maybe as well, basically trying to guarantee the implementation of the UN Security Council's Resolution 1701. However, the Israeli side has far greater demands. What they want to achieve is the possibility to continue to act militarily whenever they see or they think that the requests that are put in place by the ceasefire negotiations are violated. So whenever they have the impression that Hezbollah is about to transfer weapons or to attack or whatever, they had to have the possibility to intervene directly on Lebanese territory. The Lebanese side, however, is against this possibility. They rightly think this is a violation of their sovereignty, and they would rather delegate this possibility not to Israel, but to the international community, and therefore to that monitoring institution that would expect to form. So basically, the best outcome they can hope for on the Lebanese side is a 1701 plus option, whereas Israel is in fact asking for...
But a 1701 plus option, right, a 1701 plus option back in October was described by some in Lebanon and the Lebanese media pretty much as a surrender document.
Well, it would look like a surrender document if Israel is given the possibility to intervene intervene without limitations, unrestrained on Lebanese territory. Indeed, and I think that's a correct assessment fundamentally. I mean, there is a degree of sovereignty of Lebanon that needs to be maintained. Otherwise, this is not a ceasefire. Hostilities will continue regardless of this agreement because Israel would be able to intervene in any case.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for speaking to us on Al Jazeera. Thank you.